Hi, I am Kate Robards, and I am from a small town on the Texas-Louisiana border called Orange. It's more Cajun than cowboy, and since then I've lived around the world. I've lived in Shanghai, Amsterdam, Brussels, and I got my graduate degree from California College of the Arts in San Francisco, but the majority of my life has been spent in this small town in rural Texas. And I'm a storyteller, writer, performer, and for the past 7 years I've been performing solo autobiographical shows. And one of the reasons why I think it's so important for representation in America of not only women's stories, but it's representation of stories of people from rural America. We are in a state where people are so obsessed with the coastal elites, and while I've been able to straddle that line due to various reasons in my life, I still have a big weight on my shoulder from the deck that I feel is stacked against me. I grew up on the poverty line with a single mother in this really small community, and even when you see stories of the South, you really don't see a lot of stories of rural South. And something that I'm devoted to telling in my life are the socioeconomic divides that face this country. And one of my personal stories that I'm constantly telling is the story of white privilege, because I look the way I am. I've been accepted into a lot of different circles. I have been writing short fiction, short TV pilots that have been entered in numerous contests, and I'm still just looking for the opportunity to best tell my stories. And I'm really grateful that y'all are using this platform to help find young female storytellers. A little bit about the project that I want to pitch. It is a version of two of my solo shows, one Ain't That Rich and the follow-up Polyamory, that have toured to over 20 different cities in the US and abroad, and the shows have been called Hilarious and Heartbreaking by the Washington Post. They've been described as having wry wit, which I can't even say, but I do know, by the San Francisco Chronicle, but I do know that all of my reviews keep me going, and every little opportunity to continue telling stories keeps me going. The plays are about my life, as I mentioned, growing up in a small town, rural Texas, and briefly marrying into the 1%, which is actually how I had the ability to even believe in myself as an artist. So I know firsthand how much having support and financial backing helps, even just a little bit. So Ain't That Rich is about briefly marrying into the 1%, and my second show, Polyamory, is about the disillusion of that marriage. It's about sex, love, his, hers, therapy, and true love, and that can be friendship. So all of my shows are powered on female friendship and self-identity, and at the core there is a woman storyteller who is me. One of my inspirations is obviously Phoebe Waller-Bridges, who did Fleabag, because she got her start doing Fringe festivals, and I often think of this review that was in The Guardian that gave her show 3 stars, and it's like she went on to win countless Golden Globes and Emmys, and I'm just reminded that you can never really give up, because you never know what's going to happen. And the story at its core is about that push and pull of being in an urban city, that I've always resented people from urban cities, and then also knowing that if I were to remain in my small town in Orange, Texas, I wouldn't have opportunities to network and to even be surrounded by people who appreciate the arts to the levels that people in California and New York do, or cities in those states do. So it's that push-pull between our country, and that's at the heart of what the character, whose name is Kate, also my name, experiences. And my brother has struggled with addiction. He works on the pipeline in gas and oil, which is at strict divides politically, straddling political divides, straddling religious, money, all of these divides in the country, and as at the core of my personage. And conceptually, the show, the working title could be Polyamory or Ain't That Rich. but I know that it would have a cadre of different people from different walks of life, and I'm really interested in casting local people. So like I love the Coen brothers in Texas. They're always casting real gritty people, and I like that. I like you know, take some of the polish away from people. And my dream would be to film it in 2 different locations. So to have a team on the ground shooting in my hometown, which is this beautiful swamp on the border of Louisiana, and have a team shooting somewhere like in New York. It would be an 8 series. Season 1 would be an 8 series dramedy. So while you are dealing with themes of relationship abuse, drug and alcohol abuse, and like financial insecurity, you're also like finding the humor at the core of that. Because one of my favorite quotes is Khalil Gibran: "The deeper sorrow carves itself into one's being, the more joy one can contain." And I really believe that. I really believe that for humor to work, you have to really have that like deep cavern of sorrow, and they go hand in hand. So that's my project pitch. And once again, I'm Kate Robards. I'm from Orange, Texas. I currently live in New York City because that's where I have landed by the grace of God, and I would love to pitch you guys in person.